Tonight on Newshub Live at 6, angry family members hurl abuse at the man accused of murdering Renee Duck-Manton. Work and income killer Russell Tully is given the second longest sentence in New Zealand history.
A homeless 82-year-old Aucklander who's lived in his van for 9 years. And we visit the island made famous in the latest Star Wars movie. That's coming up at 6. Up next, the family of Renee Duck-Manton hurl abuse at the man accused of killing her.
A long sentence for the man who shot dead 2 WINZ workers in Ashburton.
And we visit the island made famous in the latest Star Wars movie.
See you soon at 6.
Next on 3, Newshub Live at 6 with Hilary Barry and Mike McRoberts.
Kia ora, good evening. The victims of Ashburton work and income killer Russell Tully have talked of the horror they experienced when the man they were trying to help turned on them with a shotgun.
The 50-year-old shot 2 women dead in the attack and narrowly missed another. Today he was jailed for at least 27 years, one of the heaviest sentences ever handed down for murder. Annabelle Tukia reports.
Calculated.
The government's revealed its plan to get tough with Auckland Council to try and cool the red-hot housing market. If land prices rise too fast, the council will be forced to release more land. And John Key says if the council doesn't, it'll be breaking the law. Simon Shepherd explains.
Auckland's bursting at its council's news hub.
And any improvements in the housing can't come soon enough for an 82-year-old man living in his van in West Auckland. He
and his partner have lived in their van for 9 years, and Dinah Vesich reports they've been waiting for a state house for 3 of those years. And TV3 programme The Nation continues its investigation into homelessness tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. with a look at the impact of transients. In the news ahead, new plans for QE2 Park in Christchurch. Riot police and protesters clash over labour law changes in France.
And you're not getting away that easily, Hilary Barry.
No.
I've found some highlights you might prefer to forget.
Media companies NZME and Fairfax have officially applied to the Commerce Commission to merge their New Zealand operations. The Commission has confirmed NZME's parent company APN wants to list it as a separate company on the stock exchange. Fairfax Media would then be given a stake in the merged company. The Commerce Commission will call for submissions next month before deciding whether the merger should go ahead.
A new multi-million-dollar sport, recreation and pool complex has been announced in East Christchurch. Concept drawings for QE2 Centre include pools, a hydroslide and a water adventure playground. It'll be housed at QE2 Park, replacing the old QE2, which was demolished after the quakes. Construction will kick off in October, with the centre to open in 2018.
The government may have to give up on plans to sell 350 state houses in Invercargill after the only potential buyer pulled out. As Jenna Lynch reports, it's a major defeat for one of the government's headline policies.
Newshub.
Tens of thousands in France have taken part in protests over proposed labour law reforms.
Bridges, motorways and rail lines were blockaded, dozens of flights delayed. There were walkouts at power stations and protesters clashed with police in Paris and other cities. ITV's Neil Connery reports. Right, Ingrid's in now. We've got a weather warning sort of weekend.
We've got weather warnings, yeah, plural. A binge watching House of Cards kind of Saturday, I would call it. Heavy rain until tomorrow morning for these places. Potentially some surface flooding as well with those really intense falls. The rain should ease by the afternoon, but the northwest gales here are hanging around for much of the North Island. I've got some cold weather to tell you about as well later in the program.
Still to come on Newshub. He's asleep, so I'll take over. You do that all the time. Well, somebody else will have to pick you up on it. Māori and Moriori ancestral remains are returned to Papa from museums all over the world.
I'll do this one. And the island made famous in the Star Wars movie has its own fascinating story. Thanks.
Channel 9 in Australia has sacked producer Stephen Rice over the botched 60 Minutes child abduction case. An internal review found the program made inexcusable errors by paying a recovery agency to kidnap Sally Faulkner's children from their father in Lebanon. Reporter Tara Brown and other staff involved in planning the story have been given formal warnings, but all of them have kept their jobs. Te Papa Museum has welcomed the second largest repatriation of Māori and Moriori remains today from museums around the world. But as Laura McDonald reports, there's still plenty of work to be done to identify where they belong. An island that's virtually been stuck in time for more than 1,000 years is now being overrun by fans of the Jedi.
As Mark Phillips from CBS explains, Skellig Michael, a remote island in the Atlantic Ocean, features in the latest episode of Star Wars.
Well, Ashley has sport now, and Stephen Adams and the Thunder made to wait.
Yeah, well, they're making us all wait, aren't they? That's because the Golden State Warriors are already set for Nadal-Djokovic final showdown at the French Open. You know what I reckon? Roger Federer. Get up the legend, Roger Federer. And speaking of legends, I think you've got something up your sleeve after the break there, Mike.
Yes, I sure have.
I'm worried. Let's move on. Coming up, News Hub weather and Ingrid, a big storm system's on the way.
Moving right along. Yes, it's about to get real with rain, thunder and gales, especially for the North Island. Today's totals will be pretty mild by comparison. Get cosy on the couch. I'll have the full weekend forecast straight after the break. If that wasn't bad enough, now it's going to get real. We're saying goodbye to the wonderful Hilary.
Yes, we are. Thank you, Ingrid. Yes, it is that time of the night, Hilary. These are for me, by the way.
I'll get a couple. You know it's going to happen.
Hilary, you've been with us here at Mediaworks for 23 years, and over that time you have become such a much-loved part of this family, not just for us, but for our audience as well. And for me personally, it has been such an honour to have spent the last 11 years with you.
First issue.
You're such a fantastic person to be with. I know I speak for everyone when I say I can't imagine what life is going to be like here without you being around. But we'll deal with that later. Right now, I want to say on behalf of everyone, thank you. And I want to pay this small tribute to your stellar career.
We're going to be making a spam smoothie.
Long before reality television, Hilary Barry was making television real. As a fresh-faced reporter 20 years ago, she already had that precious ability to engage an audience. Armed, of course, with her trademark honesty.
That is disgusting.
And even the most mundane stories, like an escaped pig, were cleverly turned into the kind of television event we all remembered.
Anyone seen this guy?
The offender escaped on Sunday after his owner's car crashed. He caused havoc on the motorway, running across the road into a massage parlour.
Hilary's always said she takes her job seriously.
Kia ora, good evening. The young man who suffered fatal burns.
But herself, well, not so much.
Neither, neither, either, either. Let's call the whole thing off.
Her willingness to try anything struck a chord with viewers.
That's right, Hilary.
I'm stuck.
As well as her self-deprecating style.
Joel Campbell Live checks out a group who have survived a month without alcohol. Would you cope?
And Mike will have all we need. Don't look at me like that. That's harsh.
And when Hilary laughed, we all laughed.
The 80-year-old pensioner who ruined a priceless fresco at a Spanish church has complained to reporters that the criticism is very unfair because she hadn't finished it yet. I shouldn't laugh. Thousands of possums die each year on the road. Most motorists take little notice, but this time there was some interest.
He said he'd had an emergency defecation situation and needed to use her bathroom.
An emergency defecation situation? Anyway, carry on, Hilary.
Yeah, just as you
I'm having one myself.
But there is so much more to Hilary. And when the nation needed her most, she was there. When the February earthquake struck in 2011, Hilary presented raw, unedited images.
That plume of smoke in the background there is the fire that is raging at the CTV building. We now know that there are at least 30 people still trapped inside.
She was a calming voice in a landscape of uncertainty.
We're seeing survivors in the middle of Hagley Park, and you'd have to say that that would be one of the safest places to be.
Hilary reported from some of the biggest stories in the world, like the death of Nelson Mandela.
It's 7 in the morning, and right at this moment, the coffin carrying Mandela's body is now beginning the first of 3 very public trips through the streets here in Pretoria.
And Kate and Will's royal wedding.
It's a huge deal here. The crowds will be heaving, and if you are too at home, don't worry. There's even a souvenir sick bag for that too.
And when television royalty came to town, who better to meet her than our own Queen of the Airwaves? Well done, Hills. We'll miss you dearly.
Who can turn the world on with her smile? Who can take a nothing day and suddenly make it all seem worthwhile? Well, it's you, girl, and you should know it. With each glance and every little movement you show it. Love is all around, no need to waste it. You can have it down, why don't you take it? You're gonna make it after all. You're gonna make it after all.
Oh, I hope you've all cried and laughed like I have.
OK, well, for one last time for Hilary, that's Newshub Live at 6. I'm Mike McRoberts.
And I'm Hilary Barry, and I'm incredibly grateful. You cannot imagine how grateful I am for having had a wonderful 23 years here, working with amazing, amazing people. Thank you all for welcoming me into your living rooms every night, for putting up with the giggles on occasions and the tears. And, you know, as you can see, I'm shedding a few tonight already. And for the last time, good evening. Oh, those are beautiful. Thank you so much. They're gorgeous.
Thank you so much, Hilary and Mike. And Hilary, can I say a very big goodbye from us on Story? You're an absolute legend and the best at what you do. Are we going to be having a drink later on?
Possibly.
No, it's going to be a quiet night, I think. Not at all. Hey, thank you very much to the rest of you.